Welcome to the Thrive Hive, a space where creatives and passionate people come together to share their thoughts on thriving, flourishing, and growing. Ready? Let's thrive. Hi guys, Allison here, and today I am joined by Jessica Spooner. Is that correct?
Jess Spooner.
I'm just kidding. Jessica is actually my sister-in-law, which means she puts up with my brother, and for that, I consider her a superhero. But she also has another set of superpowers, which is she is a super simplifier. So Jessica, tell us about yourself and tell us more about what you do.
I'm Jess with Simplify with Jess, and I am here to help you simplify your life. I'm mainly focusing on decluttering the items that are surrounding you in your home, but also helping you kind of figure out how that can trickle into every aspect of your life.
Yes. Before we get into all of that and unpack that, how did you get into this and discover that it's something you wanted to help other people do?
When we moved, so back in 2017, we moved a big move from West Michigan to where we are now in mid-Michigan. And when we moved, I just kept thinking, holy smokes, we have so much stuff. It was just the three of us at the time. And I'm just like, wow, we have collected so much stuff. And partially that was my fault because I was very much of I liked little knickknacks. I liked my clothes. I liked being surrounded by things. And that was how I always had been until we moved to mid-Michigan. We were in a new home. And as I was unpacking things, I'm like, I don't even love this. Why would I put this on my wall if I don't really love it and it doesn't bring me joy? Kind of like what Marie Kondo, if it doesn't bring you joy, get rid of it. And so that's when I started to think more about it. I'm like, if this doesn't make me happy, it doesn't fulfill my deepest desires, why am I going to put it on my wall? So that's when I started to figure out oh, hey, I don't need to just surround myself with stuff because I think I need to. And I started looking a little bit more deeper into it. I read some books by Joshua Becker. I started listening to podcasts from the Minimalists. Some people I'm sure have heard of them. And that kind of just opened a big door. Oh, this is pretty cool. And it was a thing, minimalism, simple living. Some people call it the simple life. People call it all the things. So yeah, I just kind of jumped right in, started getting rid of a bunch of stuff. And then slowly over the past 3 years, people started telling me you're really good at this. Can you help me with it? And so that's when I decided just over the past couple of months to start really putting a handbook out there and starting showing to people how the heck to do it.
That's awesome because you mentioned that making you happy or not making you happy. And we're going to talk a lot about thriving, which is the whole point of this channel. So before we go any farther, I know that's different for a lot of people. So what does thriving look like to you?
So to put it quite simply, no pun intended, I feel like thriving is just living well, being happy, being in good health, taking care of yourself, and just finding contentment and happiness deep down in your soul. That's what I feel like thriving is. I feel like I'm thriving when I'm just living well.
Nice. Love it. That is a super simple answer for super. So, and I have noticed as I work on more of a mindfulness practice and living a little more simply and practice more meditation, I have kind of less tolerance for clutter. You know a little bit about me, so that's kind of saying a lot. I've never been a neat freak, but I'm definitely not a neat freak now, but I'm definitely more aware that I need kind of a neat space.
Yeah.
Can you kind of talk about why you think that some of those things are connected, feeling good and thriving and also having a neat, clean space?
Yes. So let's go first into some scientific research. I'm a rec therapist by career. So I like to look at evidence-based practice. And research shows us that visual clutter. So if I'm sitting in a room where I'm sitting right now, and if I have clutter surrounding me, that visual clutter will directly impact my brain. It's going to impact my cognition. So like my intention to task, and my focus, my ability to focus on my work or what I'm doing right now. It can also impact your emotional health. So it can add to your stress and just to your overall load, your daily load as a mom, as a wife, as a career woman, as a dad. It just kind of impacts your stress levels. And then on your behavioral and mental health too, there's research that shows us that if you're surrounded by clutter, it can add to your anxiety and depression. And there was a study actually done back in 2009. I was just reading up on this a little bit, and it showed that mothers who were living in homes that were cluttered, and some people look at clutter, a lot of people look at it differently, right? I might walk into a home and say, this is super cluttered. And then you might walk into a home and think, oh, you don't really have a lot of stuff. It just depends. But mothers who had a home that was cluttered, so say like stuff all over the kitchen counters, all over the kitchen table, the surfaces weren't tidied up. There was stuff all over, that their cortisol levels, so like that stress inducing piece of our body, was higher in those mothers who's had a cluttered home versus a mother who did not have a cluttered home. So that's huge because our cortisol levels impact every aspect of our body. And there's research out there right now that says that if you have a cluttered home, that you snack more. I was reading that the other day. Yes. So like if you're cluttered, that you feel like the need to snack more. And I think that's like anxiety inducing, like you have all this stuff around you and it's making you like almost like fight or flight, like it's making your blood pressure rise a little bit. And so you just snack, and that's how your body manages that. So it's super interesting. So to go back to your question, Allison, about, how it can really impact you and your ability to thrive. That's it. If we're talking about like living well, and if you're surrounded by stuff, it's going to impact your emotional health and just your health in general. Your happiness, it's going to impact your mental health. And if you have stuff all over, how about your life satisfaction? I mean, if you're looking at your house and you're not satisfied with the things that you're surrounded by, that's going to impact your health too.
Yeah. So then where can people start? So I think you mentioned the minimalist lifestyle, but I think that's like a little overwhelming to some people. They picture like throwing away all of their stuff and sitting in this space with like just a chair and nothing on the walls and that's about it. And then so that stops them. But then they also think about Marie Kondo and they're not really ready to like talk to their things and ask it if it brings them joy. Yeah. So if they want to start small, like where can they start doing this and simplifying?
Yes. So in the handbook that I'm creating for Simplify with Jess, the first thing I say in my handbook is that the simple living journey, that's how I like to talk about it. I just say simple living, hashtag simple living, is you just have to start. And 2, it looks different for everybody. So, some people will say, well, I'm a minimalist, meaning I don't really have many possessions, and there's not really like a definition of a minimalist. I don't consider myself a minimalist because, like my closet is still full of clothes. A minimalist maybe has like a uniform where they have 5 of these black shirts and 5 pairs of jeans, and that's what they rotate on. So to me, minimalism is a little bit deeper than just like the simple living. So you just have to find like where your happy spot, where your sweet spot is in there. Do you want to be a minimalist and just kind of dive really deep into it and get rid of all of your stuff and just keep what you really need? Or do you just want to kind of declutter and simplify, slowly moving into that minimalist lifestyle? So you need to find out why you want to start. Why do you want to do this? Is it because maybe you're like me and I had all this stuff and I was constantly organizing? I mean, constantly. I look in a linen closet and I'm like, I just organized this linen closet 2 weeks ago and here we are, it's a mess again. And that was super irritating to me because here I am putting all my energy into this linen closet that I just looked at and organized, and now it's a hot mess again.
Linen closets don't bring joy.
Right. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So that's when I said, you know what? I'm not using anything in here. Why do I even have it? So let's just empty the whole thing out. Keep a couple beach towels. Do I need 10 beach towels? No, I don't need 10 beach towels. It's little things, simple things like that. And yeah, just starting, and just let's see, 2017, we're 2021. So we've been in this house for 4 years, and I'm finally just at the spot 4 years later where I feel like in a good spot. Like I'm not constantly organizing and cleaning up things. So it's not like a overnight, fix for sure.
Yeah, so it sounds like a few things that people should remember is, one, start simple to live simply.
Yeah.
I took away, give yourself a little grace to, like, your simple living might not look like someone else's simple living. Like I look at your Instagram pictures and I'm like, oh, but then like I'm at a completely different part of my journey, which is like the very beginning. So give yourself grace. And I had something else, but don't compare your grace.
And don't go on Instagram. And I used to do that. I'd go on Instagram and I'd see someone's living room and it was beautifully filtered, right? Mm-hmm. Beautiful white couch and white curtains and the most beautiful throw pillows from Anthropologie. And they had it all set up perfectly. And I'm like, wow, that's really beautiful. I want to kind of like recreate that in my house. And then now, like years later, I'm like, no, I don't want white everything. Like I want pops of color. And so you can't compare what you think you want to what other people are sharing on social media. We could talk about that all day. That's just an issue,
Yeah. And well, now knowing what we know about Instagram too, and like influencers, they probably spent like 2 hours staging that picture. And then, and 10 minutes later it was destroyed. So peek behind the curtain.
Yes.
So what would be your one, and if we already covered it, you can just repeat for folks, what would be your one piece of simplifying advice?
Is you have to start. And then once you start, you just have to keep going. So say, I'm going to start tomorrow. I'm going to start right now. When are you going to start? And you're going to start by slowly picking a space and then decluttering that space and then moving on. So like, that's what I'm going to talk about with Simplify with Jess. Yeah. Start in the linen closet. And then your brain is going to register all these feel good hormones. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this feels so good to get rid of all this stuff. Then your body is going to say, let's move on to another space that's driving us crazy. So you just have to start. And then once you start, keep on going.
Yes. And where can people find you and your journey?
You can find me on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, but I love Instagram. So you can find me on Instagram at jess.spooner. And that's where my Simplify with Jess page is.
Awesome. And we will, if you have any more questions for Jess, you can put them in the comments and her and I will work together to get those questions answered. So anything about living simply or where to start or what to do. And that's all for today. Thank you so much, Jessica, for joining us. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, join her on Instagram and follow along, and you'll also get to see a couple of cute kids every now and then too. So
for sure.
Thanks so much and have a wonderful day, Jessica. And to everyone else, stay happy and stay healthy. Bye.